Hi folks, it's your off-grid homesteader friend coming to you from well, from Canada I was going to say, but in particular from my woodshed today. It's a glorious day. Again, I don't need my reading glasses to talk to you. It's a glorious day and I thought I would stop. It's early afternoon. I thought I would stop work to do a little video for you on, as you know, some of you know, I'm not on social media, and it's part of being off the grid. And I stopped reading the news or subscribing to it in any form or shape about 8 years ago altogether. I figured it's all bad news. What's the point? And stuff that mainstream media lets you read, and whatever that Google and all these other sources allow through. I don't even know if any of these videos will be shown or taken down. But anyway, but I'm hearing from some of my neighbors about the U.S. election. Don't throw these out. These are brilliant fire starters. They have, if you can't see from over there, this is a fir branch with some needles on it. These needles contain oils that are combustible, and for you light this, and it would be like a firecracker. It would sound like that, and those popping sounds, and it would get anything going. You see, I have them all left on. I even have the big branches left on, the tips and the tops. Anyway, yeah, so there's a whole to-do about what's going to happen. And I understand that U.S. election is probably the most important election because whoever goes in the office is going to affect the rest of the planet. But you know, I'm old enough to know that it doesn't really matter who's in power in the U.S. If that we're assuming that that's true, that they're going to affect the whole planet, their foreign policies, whatever. It doesn't matter who's in power. There's a greater force at play. What people behind the doors are doing, and all of these people that are presidents or whatever are just puppets, in my opinion. So what's the point? And how do you get situated? How do you prep? How do you get ready for what's about to come? It's not anything within my power to do. So, or I believe in our powers to do. So, just live your life like how you think you should be living it. Now, I'm over here. This is my 11th year. I'm into my 11th year here off the grid. Am I situated? No. Am I self-reliant? No. Am I self-dependent? I mean, to a degree, but I don't grow all my food. And that would be the best way that you could be self-sufficient. I'm not embarrassed to say that I ran out of resources to fully get the components and whatever that's needed to have food year round, especially in Canada. But so it didn't happen. It didn't happen for whatever reason. It didn't happen. It didn't happen. Now, some of you, I understand, have been, and I'm saying that because if you're here watching this video and on my channel in particular, you're interested in possibly being self-sufficient, self-reliant, off-gridish, some kind of community maybe. I guess. So, and the other part, the other folks that are watching have no intention. They're just watching for pure entertainment. And so I wanted to say that if you are able to, if you are allowed to, if you have the means to, if you're really worried about the future within the next however length of time. I mean, people have been talking about apocalypse for so long now, and in my lifetime, it started in 1999 with the Y2K, and that nothing happened there. And I'm not saying nothing will happen. I don't know. I don't know what the programmer upstairs or whatever other forces are planning for us. I don't know. I don't profess to know. I came here to live sufficient, be simply, and to hopefully become self-reliant. The self-reliant part hasn't happened yet. I'm not even going to say it's not going to happen. I don't know the future. It may happen at some point. But as it is now, I don't have the resources to take it to that level. And it doesn't even cost a ton of money. I just don't have the money. And by the way, when I say it doesn't cost a ton of money, what I consider not a ton of money might be a ton of money to you. And what I say, not a ton of money, it might be just pocket change to some other folks. I'm thinking, oh, that's all you need to be self-reliant? Yeah, I'll give you that. Not going to happen. But you know what I'm saying? It's so, it's sort of a not to each his own. It depends on what your circumstances like. It's so subjective. Anyway, so if, like I'm saying, if you're really worried, if you really think something's gonna happen, something big, and if you've been researching this sort of lifestyle for a while, then go with. Again, I'm not trying to tell you what to do. Only you know what you should do. Maybe talk to your family, friends, co-workers, whatever. But I would say this is what I did. How about that? I went with what I thought how it should be, how it should go. You do whatever you can to get yourself and your family or whatever out of the cities, the big cities, because whatever happens, excuse me, whatever happens is going to happen in bigger cities first. If you're worried about that kind of collapse, economic collapse, government collapse, whatever, and whatever means, get yourself out. I mean, if you have a house, you can sell it and look for a place to go to. I would say, again, I shouldn't say I would say, it's as if I'm telling you what to do. This is what we did. The nearest town to where we live is 45 minutes minimum. And it's a town with a population of about 5,000. Maybe now that some people are starting to come out to smaller towns, maybe it's 6,000. I don't know, but say 6,000. You see where I'm going with this. 6,000 people, 45 minutes away. The next bigger town from us is an hour and a half away, and that's the capital of our province, or if you're watching this from another country, state. And it's not a small province. It's one of the smaller provinces of Canada, but in terms of square kilometers or square miles, whatever you go by, it's the same. Our New Brunswick, province of New Brunswick, is the same size, basic size as the country of Switzerland, but where they have a population of 9 million plus in the same size of location, we are 800,000. That's less than 10 times as many people. And again, not just that, now you look at Switzerland, where it's located. Look it up on your map if you have one at home, or I guess online. And you can see where it's located and its proximity to all the other countries and how many people live in those countries, and then look at province of New Brunswick, where it is in relation to all the other provinces, what their populations are. And we're actually a neighbor, we're an hour away from the province of Maine, same direction as that town that I mentioned, town of 6,000 people. And Maine's populations, my understanding is that Maine's population is mostly older folks. I don't want to say elderly, but I heard one time or read somewhere that they have the oldest population of all the states. All of that to say that I feel safer here in a smaller place, away from population. For instance, the capital that I mentioned is called Fredericton, hour and a half away. There are only 70,000 people that live there. That's at the capital of the province. And then further south we go, there are two bigger, like more industrial cities that are maybe 10,000 people, even more. But we're talking 3 hours, 3.5 hours away from where we live, where I'm sitting here. And that's because the reason why you want to be away from the population is because when and if folks run out of food and the disorderly and the riots or whatever, they're not going to be, and technically have the resources and the means or ability to come to where you live. Right. So sell your house and look for somewhere, if you don't want to leave your province or your state, somewhere close to perhaps where you live, but I mean in the same province or state where you live, but not close to a town. So go by that. Be like an hour, 2 hours away from a major-ish city. I mean, depends on how many million people live there. And so that way you can at least be sure that it's just you and a few people. Like in where we are, our neighborhood is roughly of the immediate neighborhood. I'm not talking the greater neighborhood. Our immediate neighborhood is on something like 500 to 1,000 acres. In terms of hectares, it works out to something like 250 hectares, 300 hectares, something like that. And on it, there are about 74 of us. And yet that is one of the most populated rural neighborhoods in New Brunswick. But more than that, we're all organic growers. So you know that you have something in common. We're all here. We kind of look after, we have a amazing like a neighborhood watch. If we see, we all know who drives what kind of thing. And if someone maybe has a new visitor or someone, and we may mention to others that, hey, this car is safe, my relative or friend is visiting. So we look out for one. We stop cars if we're going for a walk on the road. Are you lost? Are you folks looking for directions? You know, that kind of thing. What I mean is that I'm trying to tell you that you need to be somewhere where you feel safe. When it comes to food, you can grow your own depending on the growing zone where you live. And if you haven't already done it, I'm assuming you're living in the city right now. And if you haven't already grown what you needed to, at least even 10% of what you need for the year, if you haven't already, there's a good chance that the season's over for you, unless you live somewhere where the season is just starting. So like South America, Australia, places like that. In that case, you go ahead and grow like nuts and seed save. So harvest what you can and save the seeds let some things go to seeds, so then you can save those seeds for the future. If you really think something is going to happen, that there's going to be no access to food or whatever, at least you have your own seeds. In between where you are and I am, right now, there's a black currant bush, one of the highest in antioxidants. Anything that's black is high in antioxidants. But then closer to me, there's also, I see purple coneflower or echinacea, and also black-eyed Sues. So these are all seeds. I left these seeds up. I mean, I harvest some, and I leave most of them up for the birds to eat, and really they also spread for me. So when they eat these seeds in the winter, fly and poop, it's like a package already made. It comes with its own manure and whatever, and the moisture, and the seeds starting to germinate or whatever. And then when they drop their seeds, wherever they do it, and that starts to grow on its own, I don't have to grow it. But if something like that should happen, why am I talking about flowers? Well, because you're going to need flowers for the beneficial insects, honeybees or whatever, to come and to attract. So then you can pollinate, cross-pollinate, whatever that you need to do. Flowers are just as important as whatever that you plant to eat. Anyways, going back to my point is that, that saying, one day or day one, your choice. So if you're really worried what's going to happen within the next however length of time, don't dilly-dally. Don't wait around for it to happen and then do it. Now is the time to do it. In my case, I was ready to do it 10 years ago. I was ready to do it 30 years ago. I didn't have the means. I really couldn't do it. Nothing was affordable. And finally, we did it 10 years ago. When I said did it, is that we made the move here to we got out of town, so to speak. And now, if you need to know things like renewables, where to get them from, how does it work, how many batteries you need, how many panels you need, what the names, all these things, where to find the qualified people to do it, can you do it yourself, or land, what kind of land should you buy? Land is not land anywhere, because as the climate's changing, places are getting warmer, land's getting drier. Water is really important. You don't want to spend all your money, whatever amount of money, into buying land just to find out that, a neighbor recently, 2 weeks ago, had to drill for water. Long story short, this is really unbelievable to me, what I'm about to tell you. And they had a hard time finding it. Again, New Brunswick is basically a wetland, and within 700 feet from where we are, there's a big wetland, and you would think that would mean that there are aquifers here so full of water, and maybe because it hadn't rained for 3-4 weeks, they had a hard time finding water. Maybe it was a location. This dowsing thing might work for you. I don't know. No one's ever used it here. But just to give you an idea, some people in the neighborhood, this is, like I said, in my 11th year, I've seen people drill down 75 feet, 100 feet, and in our case, 185 feet before they reach good flow of water. And in my neighbor's case the other day, 250 feet. To put it in perspective, prices of things have gone up, where we paid almost $4,000 for our 185 feet drilling for water. Our neighbor's telling me she's going to pay $15,000. I don't think she's got that number right, because I calculated, because it's the same guy that we hired. I calculated her cost to be $8,000, but I don't think, even if I'm off by say $2,000, so it would be cost $10,000. I don't think $15,000 is a lot of money. But this is why it's important to know where you're going and how you're going to need water to survive. And so when for instance, if somebody offers us what we want for our property, we will sell it, and a lot of that work is done. The drilling deep, the regular, the septic tank, all of these things are done. So when you go to shop and you find the place you want, the land you want, or the house you want that's outside, I don't know about where you live or near where you live or your country or your province or your state. I can only speak for where I live. This smaller community, I mean, like I said, there's only 800,000 people in the country, in the province the size of Switzerland. And so, but in each region, like in the region where we're in, it's called Carleton County, people, a lot of people either know each other or somehow know each other, or the news travels fast or whatever. My point is, I'm coming to that, when you go and find a place that you like, if you happen to be coming to this region, again, I'm only giving you the example of what I know. The price is right. You know the price is right. How do you know? Because you sold your house for a lot of money where you live. Don't be now coming other places and nickel and dime it, especially if you're worried that something's going to be happening soon. Your priority is to get situated, is not to haggle, nickel and dime it. Just if it's fair, if it's nice, it's everything you want, just pay them what they want, and start your life now. Start your new chapter now, even if nothing does happen. Because what are you waiting for? There's no perfect place, and there's no perfect time, there's no perfect scenario. What I mean is, you think, well, maybe I'll wait and see if this house will go down. Maybe I'll wait and see if I'll win the lottery. These are all hypothetical at best. Just do what you can with what you got today, right now. As an example, we have 2 cars now. We're trying to sell our old one. Someone came from Morocco. They didn't come from Morocco. They're Moroccans, or the one guy that was interested in the car. He put this car through, I don't know what, for an hour and a half. And then he spent another hour and a half haggling with me, trying to tell me why I should go down. And I would say to him, like, I've already placed the price the car $2,000 below its fair market value. Even if you have to put $1,000 into it, you're still $1,000 below fair market value. He he drove an hour and a half. He dragged his friend. He doesn't even have a car. They're so new here for 2 months. He made his friend, his neighbor, the new neighbor, drive him here for an hour and a half here and an hour and a half back, haggled and haggled and haggled, and didn't buy the car. I don't care, but I'm just thinking, if this is your mentality about your house and your land, really, maybe you should stay where you live. Because if you start offending people that you want to buy, especially in our region or county, the word gets out that this Bob Smith guy came here from wherever, and they were haggling and haggling. They know New Brunswickers New Brunswickers in particular, but especially where I live, and people in the country. When I lived in the city for decades and decades, 4 decades, people in the city have this mindset or understanding that they've created for themselves, that folks in the rural country bumpkins or dumb or retarded, maybe even, I'm not supposed to say that word, but what word can I use? Slow, dumb. They are not. I've met some of the most intelligent people that I've met in my whole life are from here, especially maybe even from this neighborhood, because look, their earning is not much less, especially today, than anyone else, and yet they pay a fraction for their living expenses here, cost of living. For instance, when we came here, our car insurance went down by 2/3. That's huge. 2/3. Even if it went down by $200, it would be huge. And it's quiet. Listen, just listen. Do you hear that? I mean, that's priceless to me. Our water, that's not contaminated, that's not Doesn't have. We went to the city. We had to go somewhere, that one of those bigger cities, the other day, last month. It was 3.5 hours away, at a hotel that we stayed in. When we turned the tap on, it was literally chlorine or bleach coming out of it. I couldn't stand the smell of it. I can't imagine. I don't understand how people can live like that. That's so toxic, and not even including the. I remember from when I went back to school in 2000. I learned that the city water treatment plants cannot take out all the drugs that were either intentionally flushed down the toilet, or whatever that the people's bodies didn't absorb that went down the toilet. Be it cancer drugs, I'm not trying to scare you. You can do your own research. And so it's like a cocktail of say you're eating organic, or you're working out, you do your meditation, all you have, your friends are all like you, and you cook for yourself, you don't eat out, whatever, all that stuff. And yet you drink your tap water, it's as if all of that was wiped off. Just the water alone. Then look at I talked to you about the peace and quality of the air. Well, it's because if there's no industry, if there's no people polluting the air, so the air stays. And we're in the forest. You've seen some of my videos. If you haven't, go back and look. We're encased in forest. And so, as an example, our neighborhood, a very, very own neighborhood, right now. Actually, before I say that, let me just to put it in perspective. My daughter was born in 2006. Then we were living in a province called British Columbia, on the other coast, the Pacific coast. And there we bought 1/10 or 1/20 of an acre. What I mean is, take an acre and divide it into 10 pieces or 20 pieces. I can't imagine it now, because that was 19 years ago. And for that, we paid $100,000 for. So if it was 1/10, it would be $1 million for 1 acre. I'll let you digest that. Today, fast forward 19 years later, where we are now in our very organic neighborhood, and that wasn't an organic neighborhood either. You can buy 1 acre of land for $15,000. Are you hearing me? $15,000 for a whole acre today, as opposed to $100,000 for one, at minimum 1/10 of an acre 19 years ago. So when you see prices like this, don't be haggling. Just grab it and go. Just start your life. Because if you're worried, especially if you're worried at all that your money in the bank is going to be devalued, or the banks aren't going to let you take the money out. A neighbor was telling me, either herself or someone she knows goes to take $3,000 out, and they were asking her so many questions about, why do you want it? What are you going to do with it? We don't have your money right now. Well, that's how banks work. First of all, at the best of times, banks take your money from your savings or checkings or whatever, give you next to no interest on it, and they take that same money and give it to whoever for businesses or mortgages or whatever for many, many multiples more in interest. And so when you say, I want my money back, they're scrambling. Well, where do we get the money to give this guy? That's at best of times. But when it comes to point, if the government say, no, we want to know what you want to do with your money. I know it's your money, but we want to know what you're going to do with it. And how long would it take to get that money? So if I'm selling land, if a seller is selling land, someone comes and says, 2 people come to say, $15,000 an acre. There's this money for 3 acres or 10 acres or 50 acres or whatever. And the other guy comes and says, yeah, we'll pay the same amount of money, but conditional to our bank giving us our money, not to qualify for mortgage necessarily, but for us to get our money back, for us to get our money back, our own money from our savings, from the bank. Who do you think the landowner is going to sell to? In fact, even if those people said, we'll pay you more, conditional to the bank, conditional to us being able to access our own money at the bank. Even if they're paying more, the landowner might say, yours is something that may or may not happen. I don't know, especially at those times, if those times do arrive. Whereas this guy's already got the money. And that's if the land, if those times come, the times you're thinking of, shit hit the fan or whatever. If those times come, landowners aren't going to sell any land to anyone. What are they going to do with the money? Money's worthless. What can they buy with it? Even gold, or what some people are buying, silver rounds or gold bullion. This isn't 2,500 years ago where, people were bartering and trading, whatever. It has to be something that you can use that money for. Before, when there was real bartering, when you say, here's my goat for your chickens, or my milk for your meat, my cheese for your whatever, that's what's gonna be the way of the future. If those times come, nobody's gonna want your money. You could be worth $100 billion, and no one's gonna care, because what are they gonna do with the money? Get situated. If you're worried, get situated today. When this video is finished, start looking for your land. Start looking for your house outside. Don't wait around. You can talk to your relatives, you can talk to your friends, co-workers, whatever, if you don't have the money to do it. And pool your resources. Say you only have 50,000, they only have 40,000, and someone else does whatever. Or maybe you have parents that can give you your inheritance now, and that way they don't have to pay tax on it when they're gone. Because what good is that money going to do when it's worthless? Whereas they can invest even in your future today. Do you know what I'm saying? Anyway, I'm going to shoot another video on a community. There are a lot of communities, intentional or whatever, starting up or have been around. And is it good? Is it bad? Are they working models? Are people getting along? Are they, I'm going to share with you my experience with that sort of thing, and what my model utopia of a community would be like. Start selling, just to wrap up, start selling all the stuff you don't need, all the stuff that's trivial, like stuff that you can't use in your new lifestyle, and start investing in your land and your house away. For instance, when you come here, you're going to need a chainsaw, but also don't buy these things. Don't buy a chainsaw or whatever. We did that, and drag it with you across, even if you're only 2 hours away from your house and land that you're going to buy. In our case, we were a few provinces away. Everything still today is available to buy once you arrive. Don't pay for shipping. Don't break your back loading and unloading stuff. Or in our case, if we do get an offer for our house, that we like, I only saying this because we're in a position to get a chunk of land, and I can start the community that I want on that, possibly if I'm allowed. But if we don't get an offer, we're happy where we are, so no problem. We're more situated than many people. And start investing in your firewood. For instance, what do I mean by investing in your firewood? You're going to, when you're looking for a place that has a house on it already and it's rural, there is a chance that it's going to have a wood stove or a cook stove, and that right now, some people don't want that, or maybe insurance companies don't want that. But that's brilliant for you, because not only you want that, because that's where you have your forest, the trees are coming down, the trees are every winter, the storms and that, so that's your firewood, as opposed to, that's the source of your heat for your house, as opposed to having to be dependent on electricity, or having to be dependent on propane, having to be dependent on whatever other sources of heat that other people have, that insurance companies like or the buyers like. So not only the house already comes with what you already need, and in many cases they might even have the firewood ready for you, stacked and dried. And by the way, they have to be seasons. You can't burn these right off the tree comes down. You can't chop it up, put it in your. It'll be smoke filled, and there's all kinds of hazards. You don't want that. They need to be seasoned. You can't tell, but these are dry and seasoned. So other people might not want the house. It comes with a wood stove that you need. That's what you want. That's what you look for. Because if it doesn't have one, if a house that you want, if you want to be self-sufficient, if there's a house that's for sale that doesn't have a wood stove, you have to put that in your cost, because you're going to want that, because that's what, when no one else has access to anything else, you have access to your own source of heat. For instance, we paid $4,000, almost $4,000, 9 years ago for our wood-fired cook stove. Today they'll cost more, I know, but it's something you'll need. You can buy older ones, but I'm not even going to suggest that you don't, because they're not going to be as sealed and CSA approved or whatever, and maybe they'll leak a lot of smoke, and maybe you can leave your window open a little bit or whatever. So there's not that much of a health hazard, but when you buy new ones, they're perfect and sealed and have all these regulators on them and dampers and everything. So they're perfectly fine. And if there's ever any sort of a forest chimney fire or whatever, all you have to do is close the dampers and you shut off the air supply. No air, no fire. Anyway, that's just my tip about if you go to look for a house, what you need to do. I have many more tips. I'm here for you if you found a place that you want my opinion on, and I was involved in constructing this house. I can tell you, if you're buying land, I can tell you what insulation, how to position it, septic, whatever you can. And if you're in our neighborhood or in our province, but in our neighborhood in particular, I can even connect you to trustworthy home builders and well drillers, or local lumber mills, lumber yards, that over the years that I've met, and that is priceless, to have a local guide to connect you with things. Just you need connections anywhere, even in your city, to move up your ranking or whatever. Why not here? More here than ever, because there's less people. You need connections more than ever. Who do you trust? You don't know anyone. You've never lived outside the city before. What's to know? What kind of car? What kind of tires? All of these. Yeah, so let me know. I am a sustainable living coach. It's not a title. I mean, I've seen people use that, but it's not like you go to school for it. My school is the school of life. The stuff that I've gone through, the stuff that I've experienced, mistakes and mistakes and mistakes that I've made, when to do what, how to do it, who to do it, who to employ, all of these things, how to reduce your waste as you're going through, what to keep. For instance, in our garage, we have so much stuff. I mean, it's like a prepper's delight. All the stuff that I've picked up over the years from here or there, even on the way to town, someone's left out and they didn't care for, and I thought, I can use this one day. Of course, you're not going to be able to find properties like that when someone's got all these things for you. It's rare. I mean, I'm not saying you're never going to find it. It's there. But if you do find it, that is what you want, because someone's already done the work for you. Anyway, but whatever help you need from me, I'm here to, if I can do it, I'm here. And even if you just want to talk to someone, you're not in that stage where you say, well, I'm ready to go now. What do I need to know some other stuff before I get going? Yes, there are things you can do before you get going, before you sell your house and all that stuff. Yeah, just things you can do, because that's for people that are not so worried about an apocalypse or the financial collapse or government collapse or anything. They figure they have time, so they want to take their time, or they're not in as big a rush. Not necessarily take their time, but not as big a rush. So I can help with that too. Anyway, I'm going to go now, and if you leave comments too, if there's not necessarily questions, if concerns that you might have that I may not have covered. But remember, I have things to do too, like you and everyone else, and I also have to provide for my family. So if I don't get to reply, it's not, my, if, for those who are employing me for my services, I would do that work immediately. But if not, I mean, you know what I'm saying, right? Okay. Anyway, I better get back to work on this super glorious day. I'm sweating here, and this is uncommon for getting close to end of October. If I have a chance when I go to rest, I might make a video on a community too, because there are other communities. For those of you who have heard about these communities and you don't want to be alone in the rural, which I totally understand. It's a totally valid point to not want to be alone on your own. Strength in numbers, and you will get depressed quick when you're by yourself. You think right now you get out of town and, oh, I can't wait to get out. You get out of town, oh, peace and quiet and tranquility. Even if you're an introvert to the nth level, it's just too secluded, too quiet. I don't mean here where we are, but there are places. And by the way, those places you can even buy land for a lot less than 15,000 an acre, maybe 1,000 an acre. But would I want to live there? No, I wouldn't want to drive 3 hours away from any store. That's now you've gone to the other side of whatever you're trying to escape is on this side. Whatever you really don't want is on that side. This should be a happy medium. Anyway, did I forget to say? Yeah, you know what? For some reason, this came to me just now. People are going for years. People have been going to Alaska or Yukon or Yellowknife up, that area, and I see their terrains. I see the documentaries. I see these shows on like survival shows or whatever. And I'm thinking that's insane. That we have the same basic terrain and forest, boreal forest, or seclusion and quiet and peace and whatever, minus having to be just helicoptered in and fend for yourself, for your life. That's insane. I don't think anybody should do that. You have to be a seasoned, like what I'm doing now. 10 years from now, well, I would be too old for that. But if you've done this sort of lifestyle for a good 20 years, now you've toughened up and you're really hardy, and then that's what you do then. If you really want to do it, but I don't understand why anyone would want to do it, then you go to somewhere that is so far out in the middle of nowhere with no one. You have to find your own food. You have to make your own salt. You have to deal with find your own water. That's insane. Weather changing every 5 minutes. You have 4 seasons in one day. That's insane, folks. Don't go there. You see something on TV, don't believe the romantic side of it. And don't just see what you want to see. There's a lot to remember, a lot to try to account for. There's a lot of difficulties in places like that. It's hard enough to be somewhere like this where I'm only an hour and a half away from the capital, and it's still yet so peaceful. And that's kind of what you want, especially if you've always lived in the city. Don't go from frying pan to fire, or don't go from a cast iron or whatever stainless steel frying pan to a cast iron frying pan, or vice versa. So you just exchanging one horrible life for another. Talk to me if you need my expertise or my experience in my time here, before you make a decision that you may not be able to recover from, because you may only have one kick at the can, and you don't get it right, and things do happen, as some folks are predicting. And then what do you do? Anyway, better get to work, folks. Thanks for being here. Thanks for watching. Namaste.